All right, time for some more exam revision. Now, hopefully music is more than just getting a number, but I know that you've got an exam coming up, so we're going to use the SCSA sample paper to help prepare for this exam. And this video is going to look at music theory. Let's do it. What's our first question? Okay, pretty common one. Name this scale. So we're going to do our process, write down the time. It's 9:37. Underline, identify. Can be a scale or a mode, so giving you a bit of a clue there. Yeah, and the rest doesn't matter. It's worth 1 mark, so we've got about 1 minute. Now, do we need to narrow the options? Yes, we do, and we can do that quite easily. First off, we can go starts on an E flat, ends on an E flat, and has an E flat major key signature. So it's pretty good bet that this is going to be called some sort of E flat something scale. So that's worth remembering and worth writing down and worth narrowing down, because that's going to be super helpful. Scales are always named after the notes they start and stop on. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm going to use a chord spelling way to try and work this out. So we essentially need to start analysing. So we need to go 1, this is the lowered 7th. What's this, 5? Trying to find all the notes that are unique. 6, 1, lowered 7th, we've done 6. 2, oh here we go, 2, lowered 3rd, 4th, 5th. Is that everything? Now we've got 1, 2, lowered 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, lowered 7th. Okay, now you need to know your spelling. So hopefully you know that that spells out a Dorian scale, and so we've got an E flat Dorian. Now, you could do this question a totally different way, which is to analyse the key signatures and the accidentals. So we could go like this. We could say again that we're in E flat something. Over here we've got B flat, E flat, A flat. Then we've got this and this. So we've got a D flat and a G flat. So we're in a scale that has 5 flats, which maybe we know is D flat major. And then we go, well, E flat is the second mode of D flat major. The second mode is Dorian, so we must be in Dorian. Right, so that would be another way to do it. Not sure which one's easier. Maybe one is good for doing the first time and one is good for checking at the end of your exam. Now, this question is in the sample paper, which means it's very unlikely it's going to be in your actual real papers. So what you need to know, or what you could do, is try just writing out scales yourself. Something like that. The options are, what did I say, like paid. That's the main ones. What do I mean, paid? Pentatonic, harmonic minor, Aeolian, Ionian, Dorian, Mixolydian, chromatic, melodic, and our favourite, the blues. So you could try writing out all those, I guess. Or I could write out a million and then you guess them, but that's going to be a very dull video. All right, good luck with that. Nice, easy one to revise yourself. What's next? Oh, that was fancy. Write out some chords. Here we go. Write the time. 9:40. Notate. So write out these chords in changing clefs. So that's probably worth remembering. We've got 3 marks. So we've got 1 mark per chord here, which is probably generous. We might be able to get a little bit ahead in this one. Narrow the options. I'm not sure that narrowing the options helps a lot here, but what might help is writing stuff down, eliminating distractions. So I think that I would write down the chord spelling of these. So I'd go 1, if I know them, lowered 3rd, lowered 5th, lowered 7th. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, raised 5th. Right, time to try them. So here we go. I'll do it on my big stuff here. B flat minor, we're going to go write the 7th chord first. You can do it lower if you want. And then stick a flat in everything. And we've got 1, lowered 3rd, lowered 5th, lowered 7th. All of this is lowered from the major scale when you're doing this system. Next one is A major in the bass clef. Nice and easy, hopefully. We don't have to worry about this triad being too low because we're not getting it played by anyone. That would sound a bit weird in real life. And then for all you guitar players out there, this is a C clef, which means that line there is a C. Oh, whoa, that's horrendous. Undo. How do I undo this stuff? That's a C. We'll just put a C there. And so they've been super friendly and said we can do a C augmented chord. So that'd be very nice if they did that in the actual exam. So then we can go C, E, G, and put a sharp on that. And we're done. Now, what other chords do you have? Because again, these chords aren't going to appear in the exam. So you have major 7th, minor 7th, dominant 7th, minor 7, flat 5, and you have a few triads. So you've got major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Right. Nice easy one for you to revise yourself because you can just adjust this and write down heaps of chords. Next question. Right, now, write down the time for this question, 9:42. I think I'm ahead, aren't I, of the exam? I think 2 minutes that took me. Using tab, so that's important, do this chord. This question is worth 1 mark, and for most people, I don't think it's worth 1 mark because it's going to take you a lot longer than 1 minute to do this unless you're pretty good. But we'll do it anyway. First thing I need to do is write down the string names. What is this? I don't know a saying for this. Elephants always dig graves before eating. I do know a saying for this. Okay, and then a minor chord is going to be 1, lowered third, 5. And for tab, I like to write down then the note names. So I would go then A, C, E. Ace, what you're going to do to this exam. Okay, so A, here's an A, this is an A, so let's just put a 0 there. We need to find a C, so a C is close to this one, so that could be 1 higher than that one. An E, there we go. Done. Now we could add more of the A minor, so maybe we could add every string in if we wanted to. So we could do things like, well, the E's in there, so we could double that up. There's another E there, G, A, so that's a 2. So we could sort of make that chord there. I'm not really sure how they're going to mark this question, but I wouldn't do those extra notes because you've got a good chance of getting them wrong. Again, this is a nice easy one to revise because you could just take a screenshot of this and then write out heaps and heaps of chords. It would take a while, it's a little boring, but you could do that. Is it useful for real life? Right, next one. Oh, right. Well, this is a little bit of a tricky question, but I enjoy it. Well, I enjoy all music theory. Okay, time 44. Underline. Examine the following excerpt written. Written. That's important. Maybe circle that. Written for B flat trumpet. Rewrite the excerpt so that a viola, okay, would sound 1 octave lower than the trumpet. Okay, and then I'm going to use the clef, key signature, and accidentals because it's so important to underline because you can do this without a key signature, but I guarantee you now in the marking key it says, did you get the correct key signature? So there's a lot of things going on in this question here. Okay, so first off we need to know the transposition. So what is happening in trumpet? It means if a trumpet plays a C that's written, then you, in the sound, you hear a B flat. So everything needs to go down a tone, right? But where did I read this here? It needs to also go down a tone and an octave. So how could we do that? We could say second plus octave, or we could say ninth if you're good at compound intervals. Let's clean this up a little bit. So we've got to go down a ninth. And we've got to write it for viola, which is going to be in a C clef. Absolutely brutal question. I mean, the chances of this people getting this right are so slim. Okay, so we can see here, we've got to find out now a middle C. So let's say that we'll transpose this one first, shall we? So that one's going to become, that's an F sharp at the moment, and that's going to become an E when it's transposed. E. Right, now we need to take it down an octave from there. So that E is going to be well below the middle C. All right, so here's middle C, which is going to be this middle C, and then we need the E that's well below that. So we're going to go C, B, A, G, F, E. So that's the E that we need. And then our first note is going to be way down here, like that. Woo! And then we're going to write out all the rest of the notes. So, you know, there's a lot going on in this question. Can we do the rest of it? Should I do the rest of it? Is that too boring? It probably is. E, and then we're going to go up the scale. I'm not going to do the whole thing. It's going to take too long. Now, another way that you could do this is to do analysis using scale degrees, which is sometimes quicker depending on how you go about things. So I could go, for example, that we're going to say, I'm just going to say this is in the key of D major. So we've got third, fourth, fifth, first, second, what's this, fourth. So then I could just go, I could probably just guess, I could go third, fourth, fifth. What I've got, the first, what key are we in? D major, so we're in C major, so here. So we're going to write a C. So you get the idea. Now, I did all of that and I still forgot to put my key signature in, but luckily my key signature in this scenario would be C major. So yeah, a lot of things going on. Now again, you could turn this into your own question quite easily by just changing the transpositions. So you could just go, well, instead of B flat trumpet, we're going to go E flat saxophone. And you could just, instead of being viola, just choose another instrument over here. The super difficult one that can occur, of course, is doing unison between two transposing instruments. So the hardest one here would be to go, right, this is written for, oh no, my pen's broken because I've been fiddling with it. E flat sax to B flat trumpet in unison. I mean, theoretically, even harder would be in thirds. And that would all be part of the syllabus. That's possible, but wow, that's getting difficult. Okay, and now the transpositions that you can have are basically B flat, E flat, A and F. A clarinet usually, and F horn, or some sort of French horn maybe, that kind of thing. And if it helps you remember that all of these, so we're going to go written, when they're written they play a C, and when they sound they make B flat, or it makes E flat, or it makes A, or it makes F. So they all transpose the same, and they all transpose lower. Wow! What? That took way longer than, what was that worth? 5 marks. It might be worth 5 marks. Actually, it took 5 minutes to explain all that. So maybe it's worth doing that one. Well, it's definitely worth doing that one. You can't skip every question just because they're hard. You've got to give it a crack. You get some of it right. All right, what's next? Right, that's enough for this revision. Remember to do a process as you work through the questions and build your own questions. You could, if your super had a great little study group, maybe you could get them to write some more questions based on these. Okay, good luck and see you soon.